What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about life in Norway compared to life in Sweden. I've been learning a lot more about Norway, how it compares to America. I don't know anything about Sweden, but I have learned that Norwegians have somewhat of an important relationship to Sweden. If you pull it up on a map here, Norway and Sweden basically have an entire side that is shared. This border between Norway and Sweden is gigantic. And I believe Norwegians will travel into Sweden sometimes to purchase certain things, if I understand correctly. So I thought this video could be really, really fascinating to teach me not only about Norway, but how it relates to a country other than America, how it relates to Sweden. I assumed they are very similar, but I'm sure there's some extremely important differences. I have no idea, basically. This video here, this person who made this video, this girl is Norwegian, but she has experience living in Norway and Sweden, a very unique perspective. So I thought this would be fascinating. So let's take a look.
So you probably know that I'm half Norwegian and half German, but that's not important today. And I've been living in Norway for 9 years, but I moved to Sweden in August 2021. So I've been living here for almost 7 months.
Okay.
And that's why I want to make this video and talk about my experiences here and talk about if Norway and Sweden even are different or not.
Okay.
I can tell you that there are a lot of similarities between Norway and Sweden.
I was wondering about that, but it's always the funniest little things that are different. Obviously, from my point of view, I always look at it from my American perspective, and it's like there are crazy, endless little differences between America and Norway. But then, as like a society of human beings, we're roughly the same. It's funny to even describe it.
We'll get to that in a minute. So Sweden and Norway are neighbor countries, and they're both part of Scandinavia.
Right.
And there are fewer people living in Norway. There are about 5 million people. How many people were in Sweden? I have to Google that. Just a second. There are 10.35 million people living in Sweden, so it's double.
That is exactly something I would do. Just Google something right in the middle of a video. Okay, Sweden is bigger than Norway, but not that much bigger. So to have double the population surprises me.
Double as much as in Norway. I knew there were more people in Sweden. I knew it.
Okay. The whole population thing, from my point of view, is always fascinating because, in America, there's like 330 million people. In Norway, there's 5 million. So just having like a tighter knit sort of community is going to influence a lot of your country as well.
The languages are pretty similar, and I am speaking Norwegian here when I'm speaking to the people here in Sweden, and they speak Swedish. We understand each other, but it can be hard. There are some words that are totally different, and some words are very similar.
That's so crazy to me. Like, I guess, I don't know if there's anything quite like that for English. There are other English-speaking countries, and for the most part, it's very rare to find a word that isn't at least used in both English countries. So I always get a little confused. It's hard for me to relate when someone is like, oh, I can speak Norwegian to in Sweden, and Swedes can speak Swedish to me, and we understand each other. It's hard for me to even grasp.
And there are also words that are the same, but they don't mean the same.
Right.
So that makes it even harder. I'm going to give you some examples. So the word rolig in Norwegian means calm. But there's a similar word in Swedish, which is called roligt. And this means fun.
Yeah.
So the meaning of those two words are totally different.
Right.
But as I am half German, there are actually some words that also similar to German. I know I'm supposed to
Huh.
compare Norway to Sweden, but I just want to put that in as a little fun fact. So this is
Yeah.
actually an advantage for me because I also speak German.
What? What are the odds that some of the Swedish language is like the German language? Is there a history there that I don't know about?
For example, the word fönster in Swedish means window, which in Norwegian means vindu, which is much
Okay.
closer to English, I realize now. So
Yes, it's like English. Vindu, window. Huh.
vindu, window, fönster means window in Swedish, and fenster in German means window. But in
Huh.
general, most of the words are the same, and they're just small differences. For example, if you say milk, it's melk in Norwegian and mjölk in Swedish.
Oh. Huh. That's almost like just a different pronunciation. Yeah, that's interesting.
So that's why we can understand each other. And as I've been living here for 7 months now, I'm getting more and more used to it because I speak to people every day, especially when I'm working at the gym. The people
It's almost like if I encountered someone who spoke English from, oh, like a Norwegian who speaks English, or someone from the United Kingdom, Britain, who speaks English, or Australia who speaks English, they would have a different accent and maybe a couple different ways of saying words, but it would still be English. Is that like kind of the similarity between Swedish and Norwegian? Or I feel like it's more than that, though. Huh.
people in Sweden in general are very open-minded and it's easy to talk to them. If you go to the store or something, they're almost always up to like a little bit of small talk.
Huh.
And I feel like it's the same in Norway, but it's different from city to city. In a big city, they're usually not really talking to each other if they don't know each other. And I think that's
Right.
normal.
Yeah, yeah. That's like from everything I've learned about Norway, that is totally the same as Sweden. Oh, grocery stores. I literally just made a few videos not too long ago about grocery stores in Norway. So I know about the grocery stores. I don't know about the Swedish grocery stores. This should be interesting.
If we talk about stores or like supermarkets and stuff like this, grocery stores, Sweden and Norway actually have some of the same stores, or at least have the same name, and they also
Oh,
have
okay.
lots of the same products.
Okay, like the same brand names and stuff. Because none of the. That's one of the biggest differences, probably, in America to Norway, is like none of the brands are the same.
And sometimes they even look the same, but they might have different name. For example, the chocolate looks almost the same. They're both yellow, but the name of it's different. In Norway, it's Freja, and in Sweden, it's Marabou. I
Huh.
really love chocolate, and I hope I don't offend anyone when I'm saying this. I really love the Norwegian chocolates, but I feel like they taste the same. Maybe
Okay.
now I just got used to the Swedish one. I'm not sure.
Very hot take. Very controversial. Very controversial opinion. She enjoys the Norwegian chocolate, or they taste the same. Okay.
I'm going to
A lot of people gonna be mad about that.
Oslo soon, so maybe I'm gonna bring some chocolate and compare them at the same time. Food in general here, or everything in general here, is cheaper than in Norway.
Ah,
And there are actually a lot of people in Norway who drive across the border to Sweden to go grocery shopping there because it's cheaper than in Norway.
okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my gosh, this was like one of the number one things I was wondering about. If people in Norway really do drive all the way to another country, although the countries are very, very close together, people drive literally into another country, into Sweden, to buy groceries? I guess if it's that close to you, why not, right? If it saves a significant amount of money? Huh. I just can't even relate to that, really. I don't. Maybe if I lived like on the American border of Canada or Mexico or something, but I don't. So I've never driven into another country.
And during Corona, this was a problem for people in Norway
Hmm.
because the borders were closed during Corona sometimes and they couldn't go grocery shopping there.
Oh
But you
no.
also have to keep in mind that people make more money than in Sweden. I can tell
Right.
you that because I worked at the same company and as a personal trainer and receptionist at Actic. I worked at it both in Norway and in Sweden because I have the same company, and I made much more money in Norway than in Sweden.
Wow, I'm so glad that she's being open about this stuff. Because these are things I've heard, but I've never had verified exactly, but I hear it all the time. So Norway, are going to earn more on average in Norway. It is going to be wealthier country. Groceries and food are more expensive. Not just compared to America, but Sweden as well. And Sweden is literally next to Norway. So yeah, this is actually super helpful comparisons.
But you have to keep in mind again that all the products here are cheaper, so there's a
Right.
balance there, kind
Yeah.
of. But also
Yeah.
because people make more money in Norway, there are a lot of people from Sweden who move to Norway in order to work there and get more
Mm.
money. And here I haven't really met any Norwegians, maybe one or two, but I think there are more Swedish people in Norway than Norwegian people in Sweden.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Norway really is looked up upon from a lot of countries, not just Sweden. America and a lot of countries really look up to Norway as like a great place to want to be, and that they do a lot of policies and economics and finances really well. So that doesn't surprise me, I guess, that even some Swedish people move to Norway. I'm sure Norway has lots of people all around the world trying to live in Norway, honestly.
Which is kind of weird, but I just think Norway's best. I'm sorry, Sweden, Norway's best. I really miss Norway.
Housing. Okay.
So I've been living in 2 different cities in Sweden. Actually, I've been living in 3 different cities. I've been living in Norrköping, I've been living in Västerås, and now I'm living in Mora. And
Okay.
in all the apartments that we had laundry rooms, which we shared with everyone in the same building.
Okay.
And I gotta tell you, I don't like it. I hate to think about like other people wash their clothes at the same spot. And you always have to book a time and plan it ahead. And also you have to walk all the way downstairs and upstairs and you have to get it and then you have to be at home to clean all your clothes.
Okay. I've never heard this one before. In America, most of the time, a lot of the time, if you're living in apartments in America, there is going to be like a laundry room. One room with the laundry machines, like 20 of them. And everyone has to go there and do their laundry. That's very common. No one would think that's strange. But if you get a nicer apartment, you could have your own washing machine in your own apartment. But the way she's talking is like a laundry room, a community laundry room is strange in Norway. Is that true?
All the time. You can Okay, I just had to stop myself right there because everything I said about the laundry room was too negative. And honestly, I'm just happy I have a washing machine that works. And there are worse things in life than a shared laundry room, honestly. And I mean, it comes with some advantages as well.
Well, this laundry room only has like one machine, two machines. Why is in America a laundry room would have like 10 or 20 machines, honestly. That's a major difference.
If a machine wouldn't work, someone else would be fixing it and not me. Just to compare to Norway, I had a shared laundry room in Norway as well, but at that time I was living in a student dormitory, but I never had one in a normal apartment. I don't think shared laundry rooms are as common as in Sweden.
Okay, so they're more common in Sweden. In Norway is a little more like America. Okay, okay.
The houses or the buildings in Sweden and Norway can be really similar. Most of the houses in Sweden and in Norway are made of wood and they often have lots of colors like yellow or green or blue.
I've noticed that. Norway and apparently Sweden is very fun. Very like you don't see the fun colors on houses in America. That would be very tacky, very like weird to see yellow, green, blue painted houses. But I like them, especially when like a whole section of houses is painted all these colors. It's very nice, very fun.
Or red. And in Sweden, it's most common to have red houses with white windows.
Huh.
which I think is really nice. Those houses actually look really cozy, and I love that they have so many colors. It just makes the cities look much better
Yeah, reminds me of like an old barn look or something.
than just gray houses or just brown houses or something like that.
Yeah.
If I compare Oslo to Stockholm, I got the impression that Oslo has more modern buildings than Stockholm, but I really love the old town in Stockholm with the narrow alleys and traditional buildings there.
I've noticed this too. Like comparing America to Norway. Norway has the most insane modern architecture.
I got the impression that Oslo has more modern.
These types of buildings with the funky, cool designs and I mean, some of the buildings get even crazier than this, like a lot crazier, very modern. And I didn't know Sweden, Stockholm was more traditional like this. That's cool too. They're just different. They're both cool.
Alleys and traditional buildings there.
Politics. Okay.
I don't want to talk too much about politics, but let's just talk really quickly about it.
Okay.
So both Norway and Sweden are a parliamentary democracy and also a constitutional monarchy,
Okay.
which means that they both have a prime minister and they also both have kings
Right.
and they
Right.
both have castles, which I think is kind of cool.
It is cool. It's hard for Americans to like relate to because in America, like, there's no king. We almost make fun of the idea of having a king. It's such an old idea to Americans since we've never had a king. I don't know, but at the same time, it's kind of cool. Is it's more of a they're more of a representative of the country. They don't have like actual king powers anymore, right?
Actually been in the castle in Oslo. It's not really like a fairy tale castle as you imagine. I mean, at least from the outside, it looks like this.
Yeah.
And the Swedish one in Stockholm looks like this.
Okay.
So as I said, I didn't want to talk too much about it, but let's just leave it there. Norway and Sweden, I think they're really similar when it comes to politics.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of Americans like praise a lot of the progressive sort of decisions and implementations in Norway. And Norway like makes decisions very quickly and has lots of great social welfare policies and education policies. Like, it's very admired by a lot of people in America, for sure. Nature.
Another thing that Norway and Oslo have in common is that there's a lot of beautiful nature. I think Norway has more of the fjords and places where you can go on like steep hikes where you just go up, 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 and then you have a beautiful view. I mean, I haven't been exploring.
Wow. Holy. Look at these. Look at this. That is classic Norway. Oh my gosh, it looks like a computer rendering or something. It doesn't look real.
I mean, I haven't been exploring that much in Sweden yet, but I don't think that there are a lot of fjords here. I think both people from Sweden and from Norway are very active and they love to be in nature, outdoors. And if you visit Norway or Sweden, if you go further north than I am right now, you can see the northern lights in the winter time.
Yeah.
And I still haven't seen it. I've been living in Norway for 9 years, but I've mostly been living in Oslo, which is too far south.
Okay.
And I've never seen the northern lights. So
right.
I hope I will see it someday because I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I heard. We can talk about the weather as well. The weather in Norway and Sweden is also really similar. I mean,
that makes sense.
Obviously, there are neighbor countries, so I don't think there's lots of differences. But it depends where you are in the country. If you're further north, the winters are of course much colder and darker. The thing in Norway and Sweden is that in the winter it gets dark really quickly. Here and in Oslo, it's about around maybe 3 or 4. It turns dark already.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know how far north you have to be in Norway, in Sweden, to get like, I mean, some parts it can be nighttime or daytime all the time, right? I've watched some videos about that. But even somewhere as south as Oslo, it can get dark at 3 o'clock. I didn't realize it was that extreme even.
It's why the winters can actually be a little bit depressing sometimes. There are some
The quickest it'll get dark in America for a lot of people, at most with daylight savings time, will probably be like 5 p.m., but not for long. And everyone complains and is like, "What is going on? It's dark at 5 p.m. Oh my gosh."
days in the north. I haven't been there, but I know that there are some days where there's no sun at all in the winter.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who think there are no summers in Sweden or Norway and that it's just cold the whole year, but that's not true. I mean, again, it depends on where you are in the country, but when I was living in Oslo, the summers can be really warm and there are people going swimming in the ocean and
Okay.
stuff like this.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about summertime in Norway and the temperature and what people actually do. Um, don't a lot of Norwegians actually go on vacation to other countries, like during summer, to like get more exposure to fun and sunlights and stuff? And yeah, this isn't something I know a lot about, to be honest.
It's not like it's winter all year long.
Yeah, okay.
All in all, after this comparison, you can tell Norway and Sweden are pretty similar in a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I feel very safe living in both of the countries, except that in Sweden, Alex and I experienced that people are stealing stuff.
Hmm.
We had a scooter that got stolen, and Alex had a jacket, an expensive jacket that got stolen. But I
Okay.
think we were just unlucky, and I think that could happen in Oslo as well if you're not careful.
Okay.
Personally, I like it more in Norway, but this is just because I've been living there for more years and I'm more
Right.
comfortable there and I
Yeah.
understand the language more. But I could also picture myself living more years in Sweden if I have to. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for watching this video. I hope you like this comparison. If you have been in Sweden or Norway and you noticed any other differences or similarities, please comment below.
Okay. That was good. That was a good video. I wasn't sure what to expect from this. This was by Lynn Sophie, and I liked it. I liked this video. Very, very unique video. I've never watched something quite like this that was comparing Norway to another country. I always just compare it to America, but somehow comparing Norway to Sweden also let me see it in a different light and also make some comparisons to America anyway. So that's why I was kind of interested in this, and I was not disappointed. I liked this. That was a very, very interesting topics as well. And plus I was just wondering like how similar are the different Scandinavian countries? How similar and different are they? Because I don't know anything about that. Uh, yeah, very interesting stuff. A lot of new stuff too. I liked it. Anyway, if you like this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway, Norwegian culture, stuff in Norway that I've never seen or learned about before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.